What would you say if I told you there was a way to determine true market value across the GTA in a matter of weeks, as opposed to dragging out the song and dance, this market correction for months, if not years more? In my last video, somebody left a comment that I thought was radical at the time, but I wanted to put the theory into practice and kind of play out this thought experiment. And the idea was, what if every single seller listed their property for 50% of perceived market value and hosted offer nights? We would get rapid price discovery downwards, and we could potentially end this stalemate. Again, I thought it was insane, but I had to apply some real life numbers to this theory to see how it would play out. And that is what I have for you in today's video. Hey everybody, if you're new here, my name is Rob Marsiglio. I'm a sales representative with Valerie Real Estate out here in Durham region. Every single week on this channel, I bring you deep dives, analytical looks at the data behind GTA real estate. So if that kind of content interests you, like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything going forward. First off, let's take a look at the problem that this commenter is trying to solve. As of Monday, the 26th of January, we have just over 19,000 active listings right across the greater Toronto area. That is up from just over 17,000 a year ago at this time, and from just shy of 12,000 2 years ago at this time. You can also see that inventory peaks in 2025 got up to that 34,000 range, whereas they peaked out just at around 26,000 back in 2024. We're also dealing with properties sitting on the market for much longer. Right now, the median days on market for January is up at 38. Last year at this time, it was at 24 days on market for the median listing. And if you go back to the heyday, really that January 2021, we saw that number all the way down at 9. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, is that sales to new listings ratio. So for every 100 new listings coming to market right now, only 23 are selling across the GTA this January. If you go back to last January, that was at 30%. January 2024, that was up at 50%. And with all that being said, things look like they're getting slower as we approach the end of the first month of 2026. January is on track to have between 2,700 and 2,800 reported sales for the month right across the GTA. If we compare that to 2025, which was the slowest sales year in the history of the GTA, there was just shy of 3,800 sales in that month. So we're talking about a 25% reduction in sales activity already through early 2026. Right now, buyers are saying, I am waiting for prices to come down. Sellers are saying, I am not going to leave any money on the table. Look what my neighbor sold for. Neither party wants to be the first one to blink, and that is why we have this stalemate. But using this 50% strategy, could we end the stalemate in a matter of weeks? Let's look at this thought experiment using some real numbers. We'll use 3-bedroom townhomes in Whitby, Ontario. Currently, the median list price for a 3-bedroom townhome is $800,000. Based on December sales, there was only 9 of them, those 3-bedroom towns. The median sale price was $765,000. So it's a 4 to 5% spread between what sellers are asking for and what buyers are actually paying. But what if for the rest of the month and in through February, the next wave of sellers coming to market with those 3-bedroom townhomes listed at $400,000 and hosted offer nights? Well, here is how it would more than likely play out. Properties all come to market. They're flooded with showings, 100 plus showings, slammed open houses, going viral on social media. Look at the crazy deals happening in Whitby, Ontario. Then offer night rolls around and you get 20 or so offers, let's say hypothetically. Now, from my experience, 80% of those offers would not even be worth considering to the sellers, whereas in the other 10% in a maybe healthy market, let's say, would be between 5% off of market value, 5% market value plus or minus 5%. And you may get the oddball who offers 10% over market or more, although it's less and less likely in the market we are currently in where it is correcting. So let's just say that after 1 week, we have established based on these listings that came to market that market value for that property type is $750,000. Now the next wave of sellers that list their properties in March and April understand the market has spoken. We need to list our homes for in and about $750,000. Buyers are more comfortable coming to market now and offering these prices, and we get things moving again, having found a true bottom. So it sounds pretty good in theory, right? The issue is obviously it's going to be tough to convince every single seller to use this strategy, and it's going to be even tougher to convince them that they need to sell to the best offer. That is not a thing that happens in Ontario, even if you host these offer night situations. It's why we're seeing so many terminations over the last couple of years, people trying this strategy and not being happy with the offers that are brought to them. So again, in this hypothetical situation, we would need to force sellers to sell for the best offer that comes through the door. Then you've also got the issue of convincing buyers that offer nights are the way to reach a market bottom. Price discovery in 2021 happened because of offer nights. People were lining up to offer money on homes, and each new sale was blowing the previous comparable out of the water. We were seeing prices climb 5 to 10% on a monthly basis. So buyers have really been burned by this strategy. They got caught up in the FOMO from 2020 to 2022. Convincing them to come back and participate in these offer nights would be tough, even though they would be getting the upper hand at the end of the day on the sellers relative to market value. But just a lot of wasted time, a lot of disappointment losing out on offer night after offer night. I know that currently I have some clients who messaged me after attending an open house of a property trying not quite the strategy, but definitely listed low to hold an offer night. There was a lineup out the door at the open house, and they just texted me saying, there's going to be too much interest. We want to sit this one out and wait. So getting sellers and buyers to participate in this strategy would be a tough thing to do. So while this 50% strategy is really like an accelerant to get to the bottom, what I can say is that we're in the middle of a process of getting to the bottom. It's just that in reality, it takes a lot longer, it's a lot slower, it's a lot more boring than in this hypothetical world we have created. As I said, going back to 2021, early 2022, these offer nights were used as a strategy to really fuel price growth right across the GTA. Interest rates were next to nothing, so buyers were happily handing over kind of record-breaking purchase prices to sellers. Every single week, you were seeing that median price point, that average price point, just climb to the peak that we saw in February, March of 2022. On the way down, things happened quickly at first, but have really slowed down and grinded. And there's a few reasons for that. First off is just the fact that things are taking a lot longer to sell right now. You're not getting as much sales data, so you're not getting as much validation as to what market value is based on a high volume of sales. A seller now will list for slightly above market value. They'll sit there for 40 days. They won't sell. They'll drop their price, not enough, and sit there for another 30 days. Then they'll drop their price again and maybe sit for another 30 days before eventually selling. So you're talking a 3, 4, 5 month sales cycle and sometimes, as opposed to 3, 4, or 5 days that we were seeing at the peak. And the reason I think it's taken all longer is because seller psychology has changed so much. Again, back in those days, you would see what your neighbor sold for, and you'd be expecting a 5% premium on that sale price because everybody knows you have the nicest home on the street and you need more money than your neighbor. In reality, though, the comparables are setting neighborhood ceilings now as opposed to neighborhood floors. And it's a tough pill to swallow to maybe sell for less than your neighbor. It's just not happening frequently. Again, you want as much, if not more, than your neighbor got. So the reality of the market still, despite all the news just being bombarded with headlines, it still hasn't sunk in for sellers across the GTA at this point in time. So slower sales volume means slower price discovery. And I feel like the people that are going to be setting the market right now going forward for everybody else will be things like estate sales, people that are selling and liquidating and just getting out of the market altogether, people that aren't so worried about getting a big chunk of change to upsize into something huge. So maybe those downsizers moving into smaller units who can take a little less for their current home because the market they're moving into isn't quite as expensive either. So it's just a lot smaller kind of seller pool that is actually accepting offers right now, and therefore lower sales volume, less frequent sales, less frequent resetting of that floor and prices. So what should you actually do? So first, if you're waiting for lower prices, I would say just wait. Yes, it's long and boring, but prices are continuing to correct. There's no signal right now that they're going to run away in 2026 or even reverse course and start climbing again this year. Every bank is projecting sale prices to come down. Even big real estate firms like Royal LePage are saying we see prices coming down in 2026. If you're waiting for lower interest rates to help you improve affordability, the Bank of Canada just held their rate at 2.25% this week. Again, the banks are saying they don't see many more rate cuts, if any, in 2026. So you could be waiting just as long if you're hoping for rate cuts. If you're a home buyer right now, just realize that it is a better buying opportunity in 2026 than it really has been for the past, at least this decade, right? You have more inventory to choose from. You have properties sitting on the market for longer. You have prices continuing to come down. So you just have more room to negotiate. And if you are a seller, it's time to swallow our pride, price appropriately. If you need to sell that home, you need to price it right. And that's the only way properties are going to move at this point in time. The 50% listing idea was a great one in theory, but next to impossible to actually implement practically. We're never going to get sellers on board. Buyers are still too shell shocked from the offer nights of the earlier part of this decade. So yes, price correction will more than likely continue to happen. I just think that it's going to happen over a time period of months to years, as opposed to the weeks that we theoretically could have gotten there in. Thanks so much for sticking with me right through to the end of this video. Till we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy some of the other videos that I've done, so check them out on screen right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe.